Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Computer Applications online at Ozarka College. In this video, what I'm going to do is take you through the first few pages of PowerPoint Module 3. In this module, we're going to learn how to add word art to a slide, how to insert charts and tables on slides, in addition to kind of reinforcing some of the things that we've already learned in modules 1 and 2. For example, inserting pictures and so forth. Alright, so if you haven't already kind of read through the terminology in the chapter, you'll need to go ahead and do that first. Kind of read through the terms in the module. When we get to where we're inserting the chart in just a few minutes, we're going to be using some of the same terms that we used when we covered Excel, Microsoft Excel, earlier this semester. Alright, so a lot of this will be familiar, or should be familiar to you when we insert the chart on slide 3. Alright, so if you look on page PPT 3-2 in your book, it shows the 4 slides that we're going to create for this presentation. Alright, this presentation deals with sleep patterns and sleep requirements and so forth, and for different age groups and different, talks about different stages of sleep. And so each slide is going to kind of take a component of that and kind of go into more detail. So our finished presentation should include those 4 slides, and they should look exactly like the ones on page 3-2. Alright, now for this presentation, you're going to need the data files for this module, which are on the activities page in my Ozarka. Alright, so just like the same place, same way that you've downloaded data files for other assignments, you'll need to do the same thing for this particular module as well. Alright, so on page PPT 3-3, it talks about adding a chart to a slide and formatting it. And it talks about a worksheet and charts and columns and rows and cells. And again, a lot of that we've already talked about in Microsoft Excel earlier this semester. So those terms should be familiar to you. Alright, on the bottom of page 3-3, it wants us to run PowerPoint. So we're going to go ahead and click the Start button on the taskbar in Windows, and then we're going to find the PowerPoint tile. Click on that to open up the preliminary window in PowerPoint, where it's going to ask us for the theme that we want to choose. And we're going to find the WISP theme, which is down towards the bottom. If you scroll down, you should see the WISP theme, W-I-S-P. So you'll click on that, and when the theme dialog box opens like this, just click on the Create button, and then maximize your PowerPoint window if it's not already maximized. Alright, so on the top of page 3-4, after we've opened up the WISP theme for our presentation, it wants us to change the layout to title and content. Okay, because if you remember from modules 1 and 2, one of the things we learned was that when we create a new presentation in PowerPoint, it automatically defaults to the title layout, title slide layout for the first slide in the presentation. But in our case, this is not really going to be our title slide when we're finished with our presentation. This is actually going to end up being slide 3. And so what we want to do is we're going to click the Layout button up on the Home tab. Alright, and we're going to click on Title and Content to change the layout. Okay, because what we're going to do actually is create slides 3 and 4, and then we're going to insert some slides from another presentation, and that's where the data files will come in later. Okay, and you'll understand what I mean by that when we get to that part. Alright, so on the top of page 3-4 on step 4, it wants us to save this presentation. And so we're going to click the Save button on the Quick Access toolbar to go to Backstage View, and we're going to click on Browse. Alright, to open up the Save As dialog box, and we're going to type in the file name that it shows there on step 4 on the top of page 3-4. So we're going to type in SC_PPT_3_sleep. Alright, and then in the upper pane of the Save As dialog box, you're going to navigate to where you save the work for this class. Alright, and so I've created a PowerPoint folder on my one of my network drives where I save all the stuff for this class. And like I've said before, it doesn't really matter if you're doing this at home where you save the work for this class. The most important thing is that you have some place where you've organized all the files and folders, and you're saving the file in a place where you're able to access it later on when you get ready to upload it. Okay, alright, so we're going to click Save there to save it. Alright, now on the bottom of page 3-4, it wants us to click the border of the title text placeholder. Alright, just click on that outer border of the title text placeholder at the top of the slide, so that the border around the placeholder becomes a finely dotted line or a solid line. And then we're going to click or press the delete key on our keyboard. Okay, and you may have to actually have to click the outer border of that title placeholder twice. It needs to actually become a solid line around a solid line around the placeholder, and then you can press the delete key on your keyboard. Okay, and it will delete the entire placeholder. That's what we want to do. In other words, on this slide, all we want is just a content placeholder. We do not want the title placeholder. Alright? Alright, so what we want to do next, now that we've got the title placeholder deleted, is we're going to insert the chart into the content placeholder. Now, in Module 2, we learned how to insert, actually even in Module 1, we learned how to insert pictures using content placeholders. In other words, using the button, a particular button inside the content placeholder to insert a particular type of object. In our case, we inserted a picture. Well, you'll notice in addition to the Pictures button inside the content placeholder here, there are 5 other buttons. One of them on the top row of buttons here is the Insert Chart button. You're going to click on that because we want to actually insert a pie chart on this slide. Alright, so once you click on pie, or once you click the chart button inside the content placeholder, you're going to see the Insert Chart dialog box open, and then on the left hand side under where it shows all the different types of charts that you can create, you're going to click on pie. Alright, and then it's going to give you an option of 5 different styles of pie charts, and there at the top we want to click on 3D pie. Alright, so just click on 3D pie, and when you click on that particular style of pie chart, it will give you a little preview right here that shows what it will look like when it's completed and formatted. So just make sure that your preview looks just like the one there on page 3-5. That'll let you know that you've selected the correct 3D pie chart option. Okay. Alright, now on page 3-6, what it wants us to do is click the OK button at the bottom of this Insert Chart dialog box, so that it will go ahead and insert the chart. and it's just going to have some default labels on it for right now, and kind of arbitrary pieces of pie on the chart. As far as the sizes go, we're going to actually insert our particular data into the Excel worksheet up here to actually modify this chart to our needs. Alright, so on the bottom of page 3-6, under to replace sample data, we're going to, up here in the chart in Microsoft PowerPoint box up here, it just basically shows the Excel worksheet the same way that it would appear in Microsoft Excel. Alright, and so all we're going to do is basically delete the sample data one by one, each piece of data, and type in our particular information for our purposes. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is click on cell B1, and we're going to type in what's shown there on the very top of page 3-7. So we're going to type in 5 sleep stages into cell B1, and then we're going to click on cell A2 and type in stage 1, and then we're going to click on cell A3 and type in stage 2, and then click on cell A4 and type in stage 3, and then click on cell A5 and type in stage 4, and then you may have to scroll down a little bit using the scroll bar on the right side of the Excel dialog box there to move down to row 6, and in cell A6 you're going to type in REM in all caps, which just basically stands for rapid eye movement. Alright, then you're going to click on cell B2. So we've got all of our titles in for our pie chart. Now we need to actually insert the data, or the numbers basically, for each one of those headings, so that the pie chart can be modified to our data. Okay, so we're going to click on cell B2 and type in 5, and then we'll go down to cell B3 and type in 50, and then B4 you're going to type in 5, and then B5 you're going to type in 15, and then REM, which would be cell B6, you're going to type in 25. Alright, so these are just the numbers that go with the headings that we typed in column A. Okay, you'll notice it starts to change our chart down here as we type in the numbers. Okay, once you get the number typed into cell B6, just go ahead and click on another cell. Just click on an empty cell so that it will complete the changes to the chart. You'll notice the chart down here has changed along with as we typed in the numbers into the worksheet. Okay. Alright, so we've got that done. Just kind of check your chart and make sure that it looks correct. Alright, you'll have to look at the one on top of page 3-8. That's where all the changes have been made that we made to the worksheet and been applied to the chart. Okay. Alright, once we have added all of the numbers to the worksheet to modify our chart the way that we want it, then we're going to go ahead and close this Excel dialog box. Okay, you're just going to close that worksheet. Alright, so now we've got our chart on our slide, and now we are ready to do some formatting to the chart to make it kind of be more appealing on the slide. Alright, so with the chart placeholder selected, in other words, you want the selection rectangle to be around the chart, we're going to go up to the Chart Tools Format tab up on the ribbon, and we're going to resize the chart. So over here on the right hand side, just the same way that we've resized shapes and resized pictures, it's basically use the same method to resize a chart object on a slide. Alright, so you're going to click in the height box, type in 6.5, and then press tab to move down to the width box, and then type in 10.5 as the width, and then press enter, and it will go ahead and resize to those dimensions. And then on the bottom of page 3-9, it wants us to align the chart to the slide. So with the chart selected, in other words, make sure the selection rectangle is around the chart, we're going to click the Align button up in the Arrange group on the Chart Tools Format tab sheet. Alright, so Align, and it will, and when you click the Align button, it'll give you a little drop-down box of different types of alignment that we can choose. And what it wants us to click on is Align Center. So we're going to click on Align Center, and that will align it center as far as horizontally on the page or on the slide. And then it wants us to click the Align button again and click Align Middle, and that aligns it kind of centered vertically on the slide. Okay, alright, so we've got that. And now on the bottom of page 3-10, it talks about changing a chart style, and we learned how to do that in Microsoft Excel, so we're going to basically do it the same way that we did it in Excel. So on page 3-11, step 1 there, with the chart still selected, click the Chart Styles button. Which is over here on the to the right of the chart. You'll notice there's a Chart Styles button right here. So you're going to click on that, and it will open up the Chart Styles gallery. And what we want to do is find Style 5. So we're going to need to scroll down, and when you point to a particular style, it'll have a little screen tip that tells you what style you're pointing to. So find Style 5 and click on Style 5. Alright. And then once you're done applying the chart style, you're going to click the Chart Styles button over here to the right of the chart again, so that it hides that gallery. Alright. On the bottom of page 3-11, it wants us to change the shape outline color. Okay, and basically right now, the way that we have this chart inserted on our slide, it has really become a shape. Alright, and so what we're going to do is use the shape formatting tools to format it. Alright, so we're going to click the center of the pie chart, and what that does is that selects particular pieces of the pie. You'll notice the sizing handles are now around parts of the pie slices. And then what we're going to do is click the Shape Outline arrow right up here in the Shape Styles group on the Chart Tools Format tab. So we're going to click Shape Outline button to open up the gallery of different shape outline colors that we can apply, and it wants us to click on the dark red color in the color palette. So under standard colors, we're going to click on dark red. You'll notice basically what it does is the outline between each piece of pie in the pie chart is now that dark red color. Alright, so we've got that done, and then on the bottom of page 3-12, it also wants us to change the shape outline weight. Okay, we're going to make the outline weight just a little bit thicker. Alright, so again, make sure that the center of the chart is still selected, and then what you're going to do is click the shape outline button arrow again, and you're going to point to weight on that menu, and then go over to the weight option box there and click on 2 1/4. Alright, and that just thickens or kind of widens out the outline between the pieces of pie in the pie chart. Alright, just to kind of make it pop a little bit more. Alright, and then on page 3-13, wants us to change the title and legend font and font size. So we're going to click the chart title up here where it says 5 sleep stages, and make sure the little box appears around the chart title. And then you're going to click the Home tab up on the ribbon, and we want to change the font size to 32. Now in your book it says to use the increase font size button, and you can do that if you want to. Repeatedly click on that till 32 displays in the font size box, but it's actually easier just to use the font size box directly and just choose 32 in the font size box. But you can do it either way you want to, as long as you get it changed to 32-point font. And then it also wants us to change the font itself to Rockwell. So we're going to use the font box and change to Rockwell font, which is down here at the bottom. There we go. And it also wants us to format the legends down at the bottom of the chart. So down here at the bottom where it says stage 1, stage 2, and so forth, you're going to click on that so that the selection rectangle surrounds that object on the chart. And then what it wants us to do with the legend is change the font size of the legend text to 18 point. So we're going to go up here to the font size box and click 18 as the font size. And then also we want to change the font to that Rockwell font that we just used for the title. Alright, so you're going to click on the Rockwell font to change that one to that same font that we used for the title. And then it also, last thing here, it wants us to also bold the legend text. So we're going to click the bold button with the legend still selected, and it will bold that text in the legend. Okay? Alright, so we've got our chart done. Now, on the bottom of page 3-13, it wants us to add a table to a slide and format it. Alright, so on page 3-14, it wants us to create a new slide. So we're going to go over here to the new slide button, and I'm going to click on the new slide button, and what it will do is it will create a new slide, and it will default to the title and content layout, which is what we want in this case. Okay, alright, and we've inserted tables before. Remember in Microsoft Word we learned how to insert tables, and basically you insert tables on a PowerPoint slide in a very similar way. The main difference is that we're actually, instead of using the insert tab and inserting a table that way, we're going to use the button inside the content placeholder on this slide to insert the table. So you'll notice those 6 buttons inside the content placeholder. The very first one, the one basically to the left of the insert chart button that we just used for the first slide, is the insert table button, and we're going to click on that, and it's going to ask us how many columns and how many rows we want to make our table. composed of. And so in this case we want 2 columns and 5 rows. Alright, so we're going to have to click the down arrow in the number of columns box here to get it down to 2, or you can just type 2 right there, however you want to do it. But we need two columns, and then we need 5 rows. So just make sure you change the number of columns to 2, number of rows to 5, and then click OK. And it will insert the chart into the placeholder there. Or not the chart, the table. It'll insert the table into the placeholder. Alright. And then what it wants us to do here on the bottom of page 3-15, we're going to start typing in the data into the table. So in cell A1 here, we're going to type in the word age. Alright, that's going to be one of our column titles. And then we're going to press the down arrow key to move down to cell A2 and type in, basically you're going through the steps on the bottom of page 3-15, the bulleted items under step 1. Alright, so we've got age typed in, and then 0 to 3, and then you're going to move down in your table down to cell A3 and type in 3. And actually we need to add I forgot to add the word months after 0 to 3. Alright, so 0 to 3 months, sorry about that. And then go down to cell A3 and type in 3 to 5 years. And then down to the next cell and type in 14 to 17 years. And then the next cell, you're going to type in 18 to 64 years. Alright, so we've got column A completed under the age heading or title. Alright, and just kind of look at the picture there on the bottom of page 3-15 and make sure you have all that typed correctly. Alright, just make sure you get all that typed correctly there. Then on step 2 on top of page 3-16, it gives you all the information to type into the second column of the table. So we're going to click on cell B1 and type in minimum hours. That's going to be our second column heading there. And then we're going to click, you can either use the down arrow key or just click on the cell below the one that you just typed in. And then you're going to type in 14. And then 10. And then 8. And then 7. Alright, so you're just typing in the data into the table. Alright. Alright, once we've done that, now we're going to format the table. Now that we've got the data inserted into the table that we want, our next step is to make it look better, make it look more consistent with the other parts of our presentation by formatting it. Alright, so we're going to apply a table style. So just make sure that the table is selected. In other words, that the selection rectangle is around it. And then we're going to go up to the Table Styles More button and click on it. And that'll open up the gallery of different styles that we can apply to our table. And we need to find the style called Medium Style 1 Accent 4. Alright, and it's under the medium category here. And if you look in the bottom picture on page 3-16, it points you to the desired table style, which is this one right here, Medium Style 1 Accent 4. It's on that first row under Medium. Okay, so we're going to click on that, and it changes the table style. Alright, to fit our needs there. And then on page 3-17 at the bottom there, it wants us to add borders to the table. Okay, right now we don't have any borders in between the columns and basically in between the cells of the table. So what we want to do to fix that is we're going to click the edge of the table just so that the whole table is selected, not just a particular cell. And then we're going to click the borders arrow up in the table styles group of the design tab. Alright, we're going to click on the, actually click the borders button arrow so that you can actually see the options for borders here. You can see the drop down menu. We're going to click on all borders. Alright, so we're going to click on all borders on that menu. Alright, so we've done step 2 there on the top of page 3-18. Alright, the next thing it wants us to do is add an effect to a table. Alright, to kind of make it stand out a little bit more on the slide. So with the table selected, we're going to click the effects button. Okay, so right here, right underneath the borders button that we just used, we're going to click the effects button, and it'll give us a drop down list of categories that we can choose from. We want to add a shadow effect, so we're going to point to shadow, and then it will show the shadow sub menu there. And what we want to do here is find the shadow effect called perspective upper left, which is the first shadow in the first row. Alright, it's under perspective. Okay, so we're creating a perspective type of shadow effect, so it's going to be under the perspective category down here, and it's the very first one listed under the perspective category. It's called perspective upper left. Alright, use your screen tip that appears when you point to the effect to make sure that you're clicking on the right one. Alright, so we've got that effect, and you'll notice it just adds that little shadow effect on the bottom left hand side of the table. Okay, it makes it kind of appear as if it's a kind of a separate object that's just kind of gives it kind of a 3D effect to the table on the slide. Alright, just kind of adds emphasis to it. Alright, on the bottom of page 3-19, it wants us to insert a table row. Alright, so once you've created a table, basically here in this part of the module, it's wanting you to kind of understand that you don't have to completely redo a table if you need to make changes to it. You can add columns, rows, change formatting, whatever you need to do even after you've created the table and already done some work on it. Okay, so anytime you have created a table like this and you need to add some columns or rows, you can very easily do that. Alright, so on the bottom of page 3-19, it wants us to insert a table row. So with the table selected, you're going to display the Table Tools Layout tab, alright, which is up here on the ribbon, Table Tools Layout tab. You're going to click the last cell in the first column, okay, of the table, right after where it says 18 to 64 years, just like I did right there. Just make sure your insertion point moves to the right of 18 to 64 years there in the table. And then you're going to click the Insert Below button on the Table Tools Layout tab. So right over here, you're going to click on Insert Below, alright, in the Rows and Columns group. Alright, and it'll just insert a row below the row that we had the insertion point on, and then you're going to type in what it shows there on step 3 into that new row. So you're going to click on the first column of that last row that we just inserted there and type in 65 plus, and then you're going to move to the second column of that row and type in 7. Alright, And then on the bottom of page 3-20, it talks about inserting a table column. So we've learned how to insert a table row. You can also insert a table column. We're going to do it in a similar way. So with the insertion point still in the lower right cell, okay, lower right cell right after the 7 that we just typed in into that new row that we just inserted, what you're going to do is in the rows and columns group up on the Table Tools Layout tab, we're going to click on Insert we're going to click on the Insert Right button, and that'll insert a third column in our table to the right of the 2 columns that we already had inserted. And then what it wants us to do is click in the first cell in the new column right here and type in the column title, which is maximum hours, and then go down to the next row in that column that we just inserted and type in 17, and then move down 1 cell, type in 13, and then down 1 cell, type in 10, and then down 1 row there, type in 9, and then down to the last cell there in that new column and type in 8. Alright, so just make sure you have all the numbers correct there. You can look at the figure 3-36 in your book there on page 3-21 and make sure that you have all of the numbers and the titles correct in your table. Alright, on the bottom of page 3-21 it talks about resizing a table. So just like you can resize charts and you can resize pictures, you can also resize tables in a similar way. So with the table still selected, in other words, just make sure that the selection rectangle is around the outer edge of the table. What we're going to do is go to the Table Tools Layout tab, and over here in the height and width boxes, we're going to change these values to change the size of the table. So basically it's the same process that we used to say to resize other objects on our slides, like pictures and charts and shapes. Alright, so we're going to click on the height box and type in 4, and then press tab to move down to the width box and type in 6.5, and then press enter to actually have that height and width actually be applied to your table. Alright, and just kind of check the size of it and make sure it's correct. Alright, the last thing we're going to do to this table is we're going to align it. Alright, just like we did for the chart on the previous slide, we want to align this table so that it looks good on the slide. Alright, so with the table selected, we're going to click the Table Tools Layout tab. Alright, up on the ribbon, we're going to click the Align button right over here. And with the Align drop-down box there, in that box, we're going to click on Align Center. Alright, if you remember from when we used that option on the chart, Align Center basically aligns the table or the object horizontally. Okay? So it's now at the center point horizontally on the slide. Alright, and then on page 3-23 under to add a slide title, that's really the only thing that we have left to do on this slide, is up here in the title placeholder where it says click to add title. We need to click on the placeholder, the title placeholder, and type in sleep requirements as the title. And then we're going to change the text of that we're going to change the font of that text to Rockwell. So we're going to drag through the text and we're going to change the font to that Rockwell font that we used earlier. Alright, just to make it consistent with the font that we used on slide 1. Alright, on the bottom of page 3-23, it talks about inserting and formatting a text box. Alright, and what we want to do basically is we want to insert some text down here below the table to kind of indicate where we got this information from. In other words, the source that we got the information from for this information on this slide. For example, the data that we put into the table. Alright, so to do that, since there's no placeholder for it, we're going to, anytime you need to insert something on a slide that there's no current placeholder for that data or for that object, you can insert it with a text box. Alright, and that's why it's showing you how to do that. Alright, so on the bottom of page 3-23, and it continues on to page 3-24, we're going to click the Insert tab up on the ribbon. And we're going to click the text box button, which is over in the text group. So right here we're going to click on text box, and then your mouse pointer will change to a little kind of extended crosshair, and then what you're going to do is point to the bottom kind of bottom left of the slide there underneath the table and click, and it will add a text box. And then what you're going to do is type in what's shown in the text box there. You're going to type in what's shown on step 2, on that second bulleted item under step 2. So you're going to type in source, :space, National Sleep Foundation. Alright. And then once you get that typed in, we're going to do some formatting to that text following the steps on the very bottom of page 3-24. So specifically, we want to change the font size to 20. So we're going to drag through the text that we just inserted in the text box and change the font size to 20. Alright, by using the font size box. We're also going to change the font itself to Rockwell. Alright, so we're going to click the font box arrow, click on Rockwell to apply that same font that we applied to text previously. Alright, then it wants us to use the smart guides to align the text box as shown in figure 3-42. So you're going to need to look at page 3-42, or figure 3-42 on page 3-25 in your book, and use the smart guides to align that text box. So we're going to kind of move it over so that we see the vertical smart guide right through the middle of the slide there, and then the horizontal smart guide should be right above the text box text, right in between the table and the text box text there. So once you get those guides aligned there like that, in the right position, as you see there in the picture on page 3-25, you're going to release the mouse button to get that text box aligned properly on your slide. And just kind of check it with the picture there on page 3-25 to make sure it's correct. Alright, so that is going to complete this first part of PowerPoint Module 3. In the next video, I will take you through the next few pages of the module where we will insert some slides from an existing presentation and then format those. Alright, so I will see you in the next video. Thank you.